Today, I'm going to talk about how to create an impression in your paintings. How we can go from simply copying what we see in a reference photo to creating a powerful, dynamic impression of a scene. But along the way, I'm going to give you my 3 keys to creating an impression. I recently had the chance to take a trip to Colorado, and I went to a little town called Buena Vista. And through the town of Buena Vista is an incredible river, the Arkansas River, and the scenery along the river was quite stunning, and I captured a lot of references, and this was a painting that I made from one of those references. So I've laid out the drawing, and I've wet the front and the back of the paper. I like doing that because it allows me to work wet into wet, and it gives me more time before the paper dries and I'm getting hard edges. What I do here first is I lay in a little bit of light color for the sky. And in this case, I'm using just a little bit of raw sienna with a touch of lavender mixed into it. And that's going to be the color of the cloud. I don't often leave the clouds just the white of the paper. I like to give them a little bit of tone. It's hard to see on this video, but it's a very faint wash. After I lay that in place, I paint around the cloud with the blue of the sky. And in this case, I'm using Cobalt Blue and Cerulean for that. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. And I'm laying in the sky. And then when I get down to where those distant hills are, I'm looking at those hills and I'm thinking, what are the lightest values of the hill? And most of this I'm going to be painting over in the next wash, but I wanted to lay this in now in case there are little bits that I want to leave behind of lighter value. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint over the hills with this neutral brown color, and that's a mixture of raw sienna and neutral tint. Now, this tree that I'm painting around here, that's an important part of the painting. I'm laying in a little bit warmer tone there, some raw sienna, and as I get down to this area, I'm thinking, what are the lightest values that I'm seeing? And I'm dropping a little bit more warmth. You can see these little bits of warmth. I'm using some burnt sienna to drop that in and letting it just merge wet into wet with this first wash. Now, something interesting about looking at the water is you're seeing the reflection of the trees and the sky in the water. So there's a nice blend of greens and blues and different colors that we see on the surface of the water. Now you'll see here, I'm really trying to make something interesting happen on the paper by painting a quick direct brush mark and leaving little bits of the white behind. I can try to capture that energy of the flowing water here. That's what I'm trying to show. And also some of the water is splashing up and there's bits of white in the water from that. And I want to try to capture that now because I'm not going to be able to go back in later and just paint a large area of white. I could use some gouache to get little highlights, but really I'm using the white of the paper here to get that effect. So I'm doing fast brush marks, seeing what the mark is, and then it's kind of a process of elimination. Are there white marks that I want to leave behind or ones that I want to cover up? So that's what I'm thinking about here. Adding some blue, letting it merge in. Now, I did dampen the paper, but by the time I got down to where the water was, it was dry enough where I could skip across the paper and leave some of these broken marks behind. And again, I'm letting a variety of colors merge together down where the flowing river is. We have some blue, we have some greens, and some warmer kind of brown colors as well. Now, this is wet. I can come up here and leave some of those marks and let them merge softly with the other colors. These are the lightest values of the scene, and it's the perfect time to talk about my first key for creating an impression. The best thing that we can do when we are looking at a reference photo, when we are painting on location, is to really squint at your scene. Almost observe with your eyes nearly closed. You are taking away some of the color information, some of the texture, and just looking at basic shapes of the scene. It really helps you to simplify what it is that you are looking at and boil it down to the simplest of elements. So I get in the habit of really squinting a lot when I'm looking at the scene, when I'm looking at the photograph that I'm working from. Eliminating some of the unnecessary detail, the texture on the background, the things that aren't really necessary, we can simplify our approach and we're one step closer to creating an impression of the scene rather than copying everything that we see within the reference photo. Okay, things are still damp. At this point, I'm dropping in a little bit of color for some of the trees that we see around the scene. We have more vibrancy in this area of the painting than we do in the background. And we want to have more color information here in the middle ground than we do further back into the scene. That's going to help us create a feeling of depth. So I'm dropping in some of that color. Where you see some of the greens that are more vibrant, some of those more saturated greens, I'm using some cadmium yellow mixed in with cobalt turquoise and raw sienna. Where I have that more olive colored green is raw sienna and cobalt turquoise. But where I want more vibrancy, I can mix in some cadmium yellow. All right, the paper is still damp. I want to lay the distant hill in now at this stage of the painting. It's going to help me get a nice soft edge in the background to really let that hill look like it's further away. So I'm dropping that in now, and you'll notice I'm using a synthetic brush. This is an Escoda Perla, size 18. It doesn't hold as much water and paint as a mop brush. And that's good, because if I was to go in here with a fully loaded brush with a lot of water, it would flow down the page and destroy the wash that I've already laid underneath it. But by using this brush, I have a little more control and I can avoid that mistake. So further away, I have more blue in the mixture. As I get down to here, more cobalt turquoise, more raw sienna, that olive green that I like to use. Trying to keep things pretty simple in the background. And now I'm dropping in some lighter values for what will be that main tree, this main area of focus here. Some of the paper is starting to dry. So as I work up here in this part of the painting, you can see those broken marks. That's how I can tell that first of all, the paper is starting to dry. Also, I'm using a thicker mixture of that raw sienna and cobalt turquoise on my brush. And by using a thicker mixture, I can get more of those hard edges. A lot of the paper is still damp, but I want to keep on working ahead, getting some lost edges there, dropping some darker values in there as well. These darker areas, it's the same mixture that I'm using, but I'm adding in some neutral tint to darken that up. At this point, I let my paper dry, and then I come back in to paint the rest of the scene. Now that my paper has dried, I'm ready to move in and add more detail in the middle part of the painting. I'm going to skip ahead and show you where we are going with this scene. This is where we end up with this painting. What I want to talk about now is my next key for creating an impression in your paintings. Look for patterns in your subject matter. When I am looking at the reference photo, it's very easy to get caught up in every single tree in the photograph. The temptation is to paint every single tree. But if you can instead look for patterns, look for a pattern of light and dark, and suggest a lot of that detail rather than actually painting it. And this is something that takes practice. But the more you look at your scene and look for patterns and shapes rather than things, the easier it is to start to paint things a little more abstractly and to let go of some of that detail and think more of a pattern of light and dark. That can help you simplify the scene, not get too burdened down with details, and to create an impression. Okay, so let's back this up. So now I'm starting to add more detail into the middle ground of the painting. I'm looking at the pattern of light and dark and trying to simply recreate that. I say simply, it's not a simple thing. It's retraining the way we are looking at things and pushing away that desire to paint in detail. Here I'm using some burnt sienna with some raw sienna in this mixture, trying to suggest the rocks and all the information along this river. When you look at the reference, it's overwhelming the amount of detail that is here. All of the rocks, all the trees, all the texture. So as much as we can, squint and try to simplify, the stronger our paintings will become. So I'm carefully trying to paint the middle values here of the water and leave behind some of the lighter areas from my first wash to suggest some of the rocks that are in the river. I'm using a variety of brushes here. That larger Escoda brush I talked about earlier, also a smaller version of that brush, the size 12. And I like to paint, as I'm painting, have a brush in my hand that is clean that I'm using to soften edges. So you can see as I paint the rocks, if I feel like one of the edges is too hard, I can come in and soften that with that clean brush. It always amazes me once we get the middle values in, how the light starts to become apparent in the scene. And this was just a nondescript area until we paint the middle values around it. So paying attention to positive and negative shapes, what you are actually painting directly with your brush versus creating shape by painting around it. That's a negative shape, both of which are very important. All right, working my way through the scene, I have my smaller brush here, adding some details, adding a variety of marks as well. Bigger marks, medium-sized marks, and smaller marks. Just creating a variety of brush marks is good for your painting. I'm coming back to this main tree, and I'm talking about negative painting. I'm negatively painting around this part of the tree to define it. So I'm adding the darks behind it to really help this part to stand out. And scenes like this where there's a lot of nature and you're really trying to abstract a lot of it, they can be kind of tricky. Try not to judge your painting until the very end when you get the darks into place, because right now, the middle values and these bits I'm adding now, I think are the hardest part of the scene. You know, stick with it, push through until you get all the darks and information in your scene before you decide whether the painting has turned out or not. So this is where I'm really trying to look for patterns of light and dark and shapes and not get too consumed with painting every individual tree. And I have my smaller brush adding in a little bit more detail. Throughout this process, while I'm painting this scene, I'm constantly stepping back from my easel and I'm squinting at my reference photo. I'm stepping back to see how the painting is looking as a whole, what might be needed. And that's a good way to avoid overworking or adding in too much detail, is to continually step back from your easel. A lot of times we get really up close and we get consumed with a lot of little details, but continue to step back. Things are coming together. I'm adding some darks around the scene, little bits of details and shadow. See here, I wanted to let this shape not be completely cut off from the rest of it, so I leave a little gap, but I can add those little bits of darks. And once we get the light values, the middle value, and the darks in place, that's when things really start to come to life. We're really starting to see, to get more of a feeling of light in our painting. All right, a few more marks around the scene. And there's a look at the finished painting. And that leads us to the final key to creating an impression in a painting. Leave things unfinished. The temptation is to push the details, to add more and more to the scene. But when it starts to resemble something, when it starts to resemble the reference photo, when it starts to evoke that feeling of the scene, that's when you stop. That's when you put the brush down. If you have questions about the way that I paint or want to learn more about my process, take a look at this. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone. You could print it out. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.